do we go about having some coping mechanisms, or what can we put into place?
Whenever you're feeling anxious, remember that our brains are firing off into our safety response, right? And so what we need to do is calm the brain down so that it doesn't automatically,
calm
yeah,
the fuck down.
and so that it doesn't automatically shut your thinking brain,
right,
and initiate that. Once your brainstem's kind of initiated, you kind of have to go ride the wave, if you will.
Okay.
You know, like you have to kind of like, you know, breathe and do all these things, but it's you know, once that's activated, because it doesn't think, right, your brainstem. So once it's done that, your body has to go through the process until it calms itself down, right? But prior to that, you can do things to interrupt the process, right?
Okay.
So it's things like, so that's why a lot of psychologists, you know, we talk about breathing, and we always laugh when we say, okay, just breathe. But actually, the reason for it is, it's not just breathing, it's breathing in a specific way. And the purpose of it is because when you breathe in a lot of oxygen, and then you breathe out, so, you know, you breathe in like you're smelling a beautiful flower, and then you breathe out like you're blowing out, you know, your birthday candles. And the way that happens is it brings the oxygen goes up into your brain, and it helps calm everything down. And the brain goes, okay, I got lots of oxygen, I'm doing okay, you know. And when you breathe out, it kind of takes away or it helps get rid of all the nervous
Negative
chemicals and energy that goes out, right? So that's why psychologists are known for saying, just breathe. But it's true. It actually has a physiological response. So, and that's the part that I think people don't understand sometimes, is that it's an actual physiological response that we go through in anxiety. And we know that because our stomachs get all butterflies, we get really tense, we get red, we get hot, we get sweaty, well, those are all physiological responses and symptoms telling you that, hey, something's going on and you need to do something quickly, or otherwise this is going to continue.
So if you recognize that, if you can start to recognize those as your triggers, you know to slow it down and to do your breathing exercises, and that will help. At least, does that help then fire up the brain so that it can make the rational decisions?
Well, it helps it to not automatically go back to that, right? And the sooner you notice it, the more effective they'll be. So breathing is just one, and there's a hot, word these days, mindfulness. And maybe that's something we can talk about another time, because there's a huge thing to it. But it is very much being in the moment, being aware of what's happening. So what's really happening? Is that really a butterfly? And is it really going to hurt me? So you kind of have to go through a thought process like, yes, that is a butterfly, and I know it won't hurt me even though I'm scared of them or I don't like them or whatever.
Well, that would solve the how people get so afraid what's going to happen tomorrow. If you stay in mindfulness or the present, you're not going
stay in the present and don't let your brain kind of get carried away
with other things.
And getting into what if this and what if that and what if that. Well, that will just increase our anxiety because we don't know. We don't have an answer. Whereas if we can say, okay, well, what can I do in this moment in time? I can go for a walk, or I can breathe, or, I can be grateful for the things that I have, or whatever it is. I can spend the time with my kids and bring it to a level there so that your brain is now refocused on something else and not allowing it to kind of get into a cycle of thinking that increases anxiety further.
Great strategies.
Yeah, so, and another thing that's helpful that anybody can do really is anything that's rhythmic, repetitive, and simple activity. So like even doing something like this is something as simple as this will help your brain to focus and change that pathway to go from knocking off your logical and impacting your reptilian brain or brainstem. It's something repetitive. So lots of people do it. They'll tap
their fingers.
They like I'm always swinging my foot. That's how I kind of self-regulate when I'm bored or just needing to get someplace or whatever. But it can be chewing gum can be really helpful. Like nowadays, kids are actually often allowed to chew gum in school. Like in our day, you can have any gum in school. So I chewed on my pencil. Yeah, or we'd put it under the desk, whatever. But so doing things like that can be incredibly helpful because it's a physiological response. It's changing. Your brain has to focus on something different in order to do that versus focus on this anxiety cycle that automatically happens, right?
That is so cool.
That is really cool.
Now, when you see me just
You're okay.
Tapping.
You're okay.
Yeah. Positive reinforcement.
Yeah,
what I'm
exactly.
doing.
Now we'll know what you're doing.
That's right. I'll try and make it less obvious.
Yeah.
It's
So
usually after I've medicated anyway.
so yeah, tapping into your senses. So if
Okay.
you're a tactile person, doing something tactile. If you're a sound person, listening to soft music,
Music.
you know, that
That's
sort of
my-
thing,
That
or
brings me
humming.
down for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, if you're like to opticals, then you can, you want to find something, whether it be your favorite vacation or whatever, and look at the picture and just
Something
really-
that pleases you.
yeah, and pay attention to the detail. Again, it's kind of being mindful of, don't just look at the picture in general, like,
Right.
oh yeah, that's a nice picture, but look at the detail. What are the colors? What are the, what are the little bits? Oh, I never noticed that seashell before. Oh, I never noticed that it goes from blue to yellow, or, really looking at the details of it. If you're listening to music, listen for a certain beat or a certain instrument, or just listen to the singer and not really all the music. So
Right.
just a focus, help your brain focus on something really small, really helps your brain to kind
Just
of focus on what needs to
redirectional.
be done. Yeah.
Oh, those
So-
are great.
Isn't
Mhm.
that good
Yeah.
tips?
Yeah. Really
Yeah.
good tips.
And I'm sure everyone will find those very interesting. It's putting them into play now.
Right.
You
Yeah.
have to think about it. You have to be mindful to remember that so you can calm yourself down.
You
This
have
is
to
why
know
we
it.
give you the information, people, so you can use it. Anything else? Any other questions there?
No, I think that
Sideline,
was
sister?
extremely informative. I didn't know any of that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I listen to the music, but like that is for sure my
Yeah,
coping
right.
mechanism.
That's what I do, too.
is I put my headphones on and tune the world out, and I'll be better. I'll come out away from it.
Yeah.
Calmer.
Yeah. So my best advice, just to provide something more, is everybody should start paying attention to how they're feeling. Right. Even if you're feeling good, pay attention to that, because it's nice to feel good. And
Right.
sometimes we don't pay attention to that, and it
That's
always
great
seems like we don't
advice.
feel well. But more importantly, too, is if you can kind of check in and say, okay, I'm feeling pretty good right now, that's great. Or I'm really stressed out, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm stuck in traffic.
Mhm.
I have a bit of road rage.
Mhm.
And with construction in summer, it blossoms.
Yeah. Or you're
So-
late and you're
Yeah.
stuck, and yeah.
So I've become really good at kind of like, I do my breathing, and I start singing or doing whatever in my car to calm myself down, because otherwise
Yes. By
I'm
the
a
time
bit
you
of a
get
danger.
where you know, yeah.
exactly.
and
Yeah.
like I don't have enough money for insurance for that kind of thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so if you know your signs and symptoms,
Yes.
Yes. The
that's
triggers.
the first. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's your first step. You have to understand your body and what it's telling you.
That's a great takeaway.
Yeah. All right.
Perfect. That's a great end to this series, and then we'll get more in depth on another one
As we go.
next time as we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
Great
Leslie.
takeaway.
You're welcome.
So
Thanks
for
appreciate
coming,
that.
Leslie.
All right, let's go have
Okay,
a glass
where's
of wine.
mine?
Let's
go drink.